Friends and family. This is the District H podcast. We're trying a few different things here. We went to Best Buy and bought literally everything. I was able to throw it together in less than 3 hours, and now we're sitting here today. I have here two coaches, Robert and Miranda. Up to you to figure out which one's which. I'm Morrill Scott, and I'm wearing the sweater. So today, now that it is now cold, I think today it was in the 50s. Am I right, guys?
You're right.
51 to be exact.
58.
Yeah, and you can feel it. But we're good to go. And so now that it's getting colder, the holidays are coming, wanted to talk a little bit about what you guys thought about traveling, holidays in general, and how to keep your nutrition in check.
For sure.
Good questions.
So I know a couple weeks ago you were traveling for a competition, right? Strongman, strong woman. Sorry.
Ooh, thick.
Do they make that distinction?
They don't. It's just kind of weird. But
So
everyone is always like awkward whenever they bring it up. Like strong, like, you know, like you just
Right.
kind of did, strong man, strong woman. I just say strong man. I don't really. It's okay. Whatever works.
The M in man is silent.
Yeah, no, but I get it. I mean, and this is a platform for social change, so I'm glad we're bringing it up here on pod. But you were traveling for the podcast, or excuse me, for the competition, and you had mentioned that you got stuck in, was it North Carolina?
Yeah, Charlotte.
And you, obviously with traveling, how are you keeping like your nutrition in check?
Yeah, honestly, that's a big thing that people struggle with a lot, I think, with nutrition is traveling. But I think something that people aren't really aware of is that if you like meal prepping and that's something that already works well for you, you can actually bring any sort of prepped meal on a plane. And I actually didn't know that until I met Robert, which was kind of funny. But you can, like, whatever meals you normally make at home, you know, like rice, chicken, whatever, you can prep that, bring it right through security, right on the plane with you. Obviously, you kind of have to consider, like, the liquid limit or whatever. But,
Not too much sauce, is that
yeah,
keep the
limit
juice
the sauce. They usually don't let you through with, like, a yogurt or something, but I actually did get away with that this last time. But, yeah, you can bring a fully prepped meal. So we did that for, like, the day of traveling. And we also actually utilized MyFitFoods, which is what District H is working with now. It's a meal prep service. We ordered a bunch of those to kind of keep in the fridge at our hotel. And that was, like, a lifesaver, too, even if we just use that for, like, 1 or 2 meals a day.
Awesome. How are those MyFitFood things? I've never really tried any third-party meal prep service.
They were pretty good. One of them was like too spicy for me. I don't do well with spicy food, but overall they were convenient, which is what you're kind of hoping for in that scenario. Just microwave and good to go.
So did you have all these tricks of airplane food travel just in the back pocket? How'd you learn these things?
I think trial and error, a lot of that.
A lot of getting frisked by the TSA.
Oh my God.
until you
They've
got
got-
Every time.
Every single time they stop me and they're like, "Sir, what's in the bag?" And I'm just like, "Food."
It's not cocaine, it's
It's
creatine.
not cocaine. Like when I would pack my powders and bring my supplements and all stuff, I'd have to like individually bag them and bring them with. It's a pain in the ass, but I mean, then it's more convenient. You don't have to buy it when you're there. And to the point of what she's saying, you can kind of prep your full day's worth of food. So if you're only traveling for 2 days, you only have to think about 1 day because now you got it already kind of dialed in beforehand. But I mean, talking with my nutritionist kind of gave me some game plans. Learning a lot of stuff I did through my mental health and PT certification. Just kind of prioritizing certain things as you're traveling makes it a lot easier, and just realizing that being flexible is what you're going to kind of have to default to, because not everything's going to end up perfectly, like being delayed for 8 hours and having to then stay overnight in a hotel if you kind of are just like, oh no, like what's going to happen? Like I'm going to go eat a bunch of pizza. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, you're probably going to hinder some gains potentially if you're not ready for chaos to ensue.
I think, too, is a good time, like, when you're traveling to utilize supplements. Like, most of the time, supplements are meant to supplement your diet or whatever, so you don't want to heavily rely on things like that. But whenever you're traveling is a great time to rely on things like protein powders. We bring those whenever we travel, too, just to make sure that we're getting our protein in, or protein bars, things like that. Just make sure that you're always reading those labels, because even though sometimes it's marketed as a protein bar, most times it has like more carbs or like a crazy amount of fat than actual protein. So again, another good thing to, or time to use supplements is that. And on top of that, I'll say, like, be mindful of what you're selecting whenever you're traveling in regards to where you're staying. You know, like an Airbnb would probably be top choice because you have a full-blown kitchen.
Sure.
So then you can just grocery shop, make your own meals, have a lot more control of calories that way. If Airbnb isn't an option and, you know, maybe you're traveling for work or whatever, you know, making sure that you at least have a microwave so you can microwave those meals, or again, packing that protein, because even if you have some sort of like free continental breakfast, we were actually kind of looking in, where were we, Virginia, and there's no protein. Like, you kind of have to be on the lookout to purposely find your own protein, because what do they give you? It's like bagels, cereal, weird cereals too, like Raisin Bran. Nobody wants that.
They had
anyways.
apple. They had.
Let's watch your mouth.
Everyone settle
But
down.
you know what I
Some
mean?
Raisin
Like, there was not really any protein options there. So just kind of having that in the back of your mind too, of like, okay, I kind of have to be on my own mission to find protein or bring it with me. So supplements can help in that too.
So they're not like putting out eggs or bacon or anything like that?
Not where we stayed,
Yeah,
at least.
not where we stay. There's some places that'll do like the hard-boiled eggs, or they'll have the yogurt. But the yogurt they typically will have out will be like 6 grams of protein, 6 grams of carbs. Like, it's something where it's gonna kind of just gonna break out even, versus where you could wake up, have a protein shake with an apple and like half a chocolate bar or something, or like some peanut butter, and eat a little protein, carb, and fat to start your day. So you're already off on the right foot.
And I mean, so are we advocating for hotels to start putting out protein powder in their continental breakfast?
That would be great.
1,000%, yes.
You heard it here first.
Optimum Nutrition, someone, Legion, get on that. Sign a hotel deal.
That's awesome. So you kind of mentioned balancing the foods. Are you trying to like balance each meal? So we're talking macros, right? So let's say I need 100 grams, just to make it easy, I need 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, 100 grams of fat. That's obviously not what's going to happen for anybody, but for simplicity's sake, bear with me. You're not recommending that people go out and be like, hey, it's the morning, I'm going to go snag my 100 grams of carbs at breakfast, I'm going to hit my 100 grams of protein at lunch, and then get all my fats at dinner.
I would not advise this.
Why?
I would say the main reason why is because your normal nutrient timing throughout the day that you have when you're at home is very important, because your body's getting those nice little spikes of protein to the muscle and to the body to like continue fueling itself for growth.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of keep that same rhythm, what we call as a circadian rhythm, when you're traveling as well, to the best of your ability. So if you eat at 7, 11, 3, and 6, ideally you're getting those same numbers of protein at that exact same time. Ideally, it's not going to necessarily happen, so maybe you have to switch to 3 bigger meals, but spreading it out a little bit more is going to be better for your body to kind of continuously fuel itself, versus like, I'm just going to have one giant meal with 100.
Yeah.
I would prefer and tell my client, let's make sure we're getting ample amounts of protein, carbs, and fats, so we can kind of spread it out throughout the day more evenly, so your body can kind of digest it a little bit better.
Gotcha. So is that just because you kind of harkened on protein, right? Are you just trying to hit the same amount of protein each time, or is that important with each type of
That's a good question. That's a good question. So basically, your body needs at least 25 grams of protein to spike MPS, muscle protein synthesis. Fancy words for basically telling your body to signal like, hey, let's hold on to muscle, let's start growing it and promoting growth for it. Okay. So if you're going around and at breakfast I have 10 grams, and then at lunch I have 10 grams, and then you're not giving your body enough protein to kind of stimulate that process. Sure. So then you're kind of just like, you're not shooting fish in a barrel, you're shooting fish in the ocean. Like, you're just kind of shooting randomly. Like, you're going to eventually maybe get to that number, but it's a lot more advantageous for you to continuously fuel your body in those bigger chunks of protein versus the smaller chunks, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Okay.
And it doesn't really matter as much with like the carbs and the fats. Like, honestly, carbs are not really essential. So yeah, maybe you'll be a little hungry or whatever, but it's protein that kind of matters the most in regards to that.
Yeah.
So when people have bigger meals, or let's say especially like carb meals, people can get kind of tired after them, right? Does that happen? Have you heard this?
Yeah,
or does it just happen to me?
Definitely happens. Definitely can happen.
Is that a carb thing, or is that?
It definitely is more so like a carb thing, based on how your body responds to insulin and like your carb sensitivity. It just kind of depends. Typically, the more obese you are, the more sensitive you are to carbohydrates, and the more it kind of will probably slow you down. But that's kind of getting into some nitty gritty stuff in regards to that. But like she was kind of saying, carbohydrates are essential in certain situations, but we like to prioritize it with like calories, protein, then we go fats, then we go carbs. Carbs are kind of like extra not free for all, but fun calories. Let's say we want to use them maybe post workout to kind of to help the body kind of uptake the nutrients that we're giving it in that time window.
Sure.
But it's not a necessity in most scenarios. Let's say that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, a lot of scientific stuff being thrown about, which is good. I'm learning. Now, another time where people eat a ton and get sleepy is Thanksgiving, and that's coming up in 3 to 4 business weeks. So people are going to be traveling to go see their families, and I think for a lot of people, and correct me if I'm wrong, during this time they can kind of take their established nutrition plan and toss it out the window for a day or a week or for the holiday season. Have you seen some of these things pop up with your nutrition clients during this time of year?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is where the whole all or nothing mentality can come in for a lot of people, like you were kind of alluding to, is, Thanksgiving or the holidays in general, like, yeah, one day probably isn't going to offset you too much. Maybe it may, depending on how much you overindulge or overeat, it could outdo your progress for like that week. Yeah. But what really damages people is when it turns into that all or nothing of like, oh, Thanksgiving turns into the whole Thanksgiving weekend, or then we kind of just let it roll through till Christmas. And that's kind of the big thing I think that comes up for people is honestly the mentality around it, of how they view it is like, oh, I'm just going to let this turn into the whole rest of the week kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think on top of that, just kind of like to add a little bow on top of that, is trying to find, like I kind of said before, a better balance for that, and like figuring out a plan for you and realizing that whatever you decide to do is fine. It's okay. No one can shame you or judge you for your said plan, but realizing there's going to be a result to your plan. Something's going to come of it. So if I decide, hey, this Thanksgiving to January 1st, I'm sending it. I'm not measuring, I'm not tracking, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to maybe work out, but I'm just going to eat. I better be okay with what's going to happen at the end of that when January 1st rolls around. A new year, new me is going to kick me right in the face. But if I want to go into it like, okay, I'm going to have these certain days where I prioritize protein, but I want to enjoy time and spend time with family and not necessarily overindulge, but I still want to enjoy myself, knowing that that's okay too, and just setting yourself up for success by planning that is probably going to be better than just letting yourself kind of go off the hinges with it. If nutrition and health and wellness is a part of your goal and you don't want to constantly set yourself back every single year.
Sure. No, that makes sense. You got to be comfortable with the consequences. For
right.
Sure. So if that one extreme is just saying, hey, from Thanksgiving to January 1st, who cares? I'm going for it. I'm going to eat. I'm going to try and enlarge myself as much as possible. Right? If that's option one, at one end of the extreme. If option two is the guy at Thanksgiving dinner who's got his scale out and is asking, well, so like what ingredients are in this so I can properly add it to MyFitnessPal? If those are the two extremes, where are you recommending people kind of falling in line in the center somehow?
I think that's a good question. I think that's up to the discretion of said person, whatever that may be for you. Because there may be some people that are, let's say, have a bodybuilding competition Christmas Eve. So they need to be dialed in to the nines, like to the extreme, for them to actually see the results they want to see for that. Or there's other people that like maybe letting themselves go for Thanksgiving to January 1st really helps them keep it dialed in for the rest of the other 10, 11 months of the year, whatever it may be. I think that's something you would need to decide for yourself and not let anyone kind of sway you, because there's my coach always talks about it. There's great responsibility with being lean. It's like a joke he likes to say. So it's like knowing that like choosing what you want to choose is okay. And if you are happy with that decision for yourself, like do it, but just don't back down, I guess.
Yeah. Got to commit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it depends on the person and their goals. And like Robert was saying earlier, whenever you're making decisions, knowing that it comes with a consequence and not meaning that to have a negative connotation, just that a consequence is a consequence, whether that's, you know, maybe you don't make progress that week or that month or whatever, like just being okay with it. But I think too, like in regards to some tips that people may want to think about navigating of, do I want to be an extreme or should I be in the middle? I think there's a lot of things that come into play, especially with, you know, when we're talking about either traveling or holidays. I think one thing that gets people a lot is the double whammy of overindulging and also just not moving as much. You know, maybe you're traveling and so you don't have access to your normal gym routine or whatever it is you're visiting Aunt Sue and she lives in the middle of nowhere and whatever. And so if you can kind of like counter that double whammy by still being active, I think that can be really helpful for a lot of people. And it doesn't have to be like your normal CrossFit class, you know, do that every day, but get movement in. You know, if you can, even if you don't have equipment, if you can get up that morning and like go for a run or like do something, some body weight stuff with burpees or some Tabata workout or whatever to still burn calories, I think that's really important because especially with the Thanksgiving, you know, what do? We sit around and watch football all day, we eat, and then we sit around some more. And that is kind of the double whammy that I think inhibits people in their goals or, you know, staying on track for them. So if you're choosing to indulge, cool, you can certainly plan ahead for it, and we can talk about that a little bit more in a second. But if you can still stay active and like burn around the same amount of calories you would typically burn, you're going to be much better off versus just like sitting around the whole time and overindulging in food.
No, that's a really good point. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people kind of don't think about, they're kind of taking 2 scoops of bad decisions at the same time. And then it's a hard way to climb out of that hole. But you were talking about plans to try and mitigate some of this overindulging. Where were you going with that?
Yeah. So again, it depends on you and your goals and kind of what you want this to look like for yourself. But best case scenario and what Robert and I do a lot to still stay on track is we'll kind of plan like what we want to have, you know. For me, I love dessert. So I'm like, whatever, we can have turkey, but I want to have my dessert. So whatever we kind of guesstimate calorie wise, we'll try to save up that amount of calories or somewhere around that, you know. So it's not like the morning of Thanksgiving, I'm going to wake up and have a donut and, you know, a full-blown pancakes, eggs, the whole thing. I'm probably going to be a little bit more conscious on, no, I'm probably going to save the majority of my calories for that Thanksgiving dinner because I know it's going to be a solid amount of calories for my day. So maybe I'll start the day with like a protein shake or like an egg white omelet with some veggies, things like that to save up my amount of calories for later on in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on top of that, like prioritizing protein and fiber because they're going to be the most satiating things in regards to what you're eating that day. Because when you look at different foods, they vary in how satiating they are, which is like how full it makes you and how calorically dense they are, but like vastly more so in the calorie realm. So think about it like this. You're talking about the hundreds. There's like 100 satiety points or satiety points, however you want to pronounce that, throughout the day. So if you have like a glass of orange juice, it's going to be like 5 points, but it's like 100 something calories. Where if you have like 100 grams of egg whites, it's going to be like this nice little plate of egg whites that's only like 40 calories, you know? So you kind of want to make sure you're hitting those, you have 100 satiety points for the day. You don't want to go into dinner with only 30 with 60 left to go, or like only 10 and 90 left to go. You want to, the best way to get to your meal, let's say your cheat meal, if that's what you want to call it, is I want to go to my cheat meal full. I want to be feeling good so that I can make mindful decisions and enjoy the food that I want to enjoy. Because I know myself, if I go to a Thanksgiving dinner and I haven't eaten all day, I've just been kind of like sitting around or whatever, I'm going to be starving and everything is going to look good to me. And I'm definitely going to go overblown. 1, I've been sitting around all day doing nothing. I'm starving. And 3, everything looks good to me. So I'm literally going to eat all of it. And then I'm going to sit down at the end of the day and like, am I happier? Did I enjoy that time with my family? Did I enjoy the food I was actually eating? Or did I just like literally stuff my face? And I think people get kind of caught in that cycle. They're like, oh, I just need to mitigate this, but then they end up going way overboard because they don't properly plan their day ahead of time, like Miranda was kind of saying.
And I think like what you're saying, there's a way to save your calories, but also at the same time not starve yourself to where you get to the point where you feel like you have to overindulge.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you can have egg white omelets or like have really small like high protein meals leading up to that. So like you're not at the point where you're going to eat your own arm off, but you know, you also have saved a decent amount of calories at the same time. So I think too, so we kind of talked about saving some calories. We talked about still getting movement in. I don't know if this one necessarily applies to Thanksgiving, but events, social events in general, I think a good tip too is to make yourself a plate. Thanksgiving, most people, you know, you have a plate, you're good to go on that. But a lot of times, maybe at Christmas or some other social event, you're just standing in front of like a bunch of food, you know, like you have everything sitting out in front of you, or at a party or whatever. And what can happen is you're talking with people and you kind of just are mindlessly grabbing things here and there. Yeah. And then you don't know how many calories at all you've eaten. You don't really realize it. Your body doesn't register it. And that can definitely lead to overeating as well. Whereas if you like make yourself a plate of the things that you want to have, sit down, eat it, enjoy it, that's going to mitigate overeating a little bit too.
Yeah,
it's a good plan. And it got me thinking, so everyone's family does something different for Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays in general, right? And my family, let's say, doesn't take nutrition. It's not on the radar, right? And I'll give you a quote from my mother. So, like, obviously, I cook for myself. I do meal prepping, all of these things. Like, that didn't really happen as a child, whatever. And I eat vegetables. My mom, not a big vegetable lady. So I'm like, well, like, have you tried eating like broccoli or zucchini or whatever? She's like, well, my mother never cooked. And I was like, well, neither did mine. But I figured it out, guys. But I guess, you know, everyone's different. And I guess there's kind of different support systems as well. So maybe your family members are really supportive of you being within a certain realm of like, hey, here are my goals. Here's what I want to eat, whatever. Or maybe they're like, Robert, with great responsibility comes with lean meat or whatever the quote was. I forget it. But what was it?
Oh, with great leanness comes great responsibility.
Gotcha. Mine was way off.
Lean meat sounds better.
But yeah, how do you feel like, in your personal experience, how's your family reacted from a holiday perspective or just in general from you having more discipline behind what you eat?
You want to go? Or you want me to go?
You can go first.
I think at first it's a little off-putting just because it seems like you're already kind of like outcasting yourself, or you don't want to take part in what they're doing. But I think they eventually will get the hang of it if they realize it's something that's important to you and something you care about. And sometimes they'll even take tips from you or tricks from you, or like they'll want to learn to like help improve their own health and wellness, and they see you taking such a big priority in that. And it is a big, like, the only thing you have is your body. This is the only body, the car you get to drive for the rest of your life, so you might as well take care of it. But I think if with anything, it's just drawing those boundaries and having that communication with people and figuring out that like it's important to me, so like be cool with it, or like, you know, I'm gonna headbutt you or something.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm lean and I have responsibilities.
Well, you're gonna get the questions. Like, I've had friends who I've done like Friendsgiving with. They're like, when are you gonna eat real food?
Ooh, I like that.
And I'm like, this is grass-fed beef. What do you mean real food?
Doesn't get realer than this.
It doesn't get realer than this.
I literally went
outside.
outside.
They're literally just like spoonfulling like Kraft mac and cheese into their mouth, and I'm just like,
when do you
real
get to
food.
The real stuff? The real stuff comes on trucks and gets made in hoppers.
No, yeah, I think it is a challenge. I think any time that you potentially are doing something for yourself, it can sometimes bring out insecurities in other people and make other people feel slightly uncomfortable because they feel maybe a little bit insecure. So I've had some growth in just kind of seeing that and knowing that sometimes people are just, whether they mean to or not, you know, it's your family. Hopefully they love and care about you and whatever. They can sometimes project or reflect those insecurities onto you because maybe they're thinking deep down like, hey, maybe I should be kind of like working on myself, or I should be probably caring a little bit more about what I put into my body. So just kind of know that. And I think the more that you can express what you're doing of like, hey, this is my goal right now, like it would really mean a lot to me if you supported me in this goal. I think if you even say that comments will kind of immediately just stop. And just know too that even if comments are there, like if this is what you're choosing to do, like we talked about in the beginning, and you're accepting the consequences, sometimes the consequences are people are going to be uncomfortable. And you just kind of have to be okay with that. And, you know, again, these are supposed to be people who love and care about you and hopefully support you. And maybe it doesn't mean that you're doing that every year around the holidays. Maybe it's this year, and maybe next year that looks a little bit differently. Or maybe you can just kind of own it and know that you're the person that brings the healthy dish, and that's cool. And you never thought you were that person, but now you are, and that's okay.
Yeah. Doesn't wear sleeves to the family functions.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. But yeah, no, those are all good points. And I guess what else would you recommend for creating that support system? So you kind of mentioned, hey, you making this choice might make other people feel uncomfortable, right? It might make them, and maybe it's because they're interested, right? Maybe they're interested in making a change. They don't know what to do, but then they see you so far along, and they might make a decision for themselves like, okay, that's scary. Maybe I don't want to go that deep in, right? But maybe we'll start from a support system aspect with you and the people around you. Where can you look for more support, more accountability maybe?
I think just by asking. I think a lot of times, you know, it's hard to ask for help or ask for things like that. So people forget that that's a thing that you can do. And realizing too, like people don't have to have the exact same goals as you to support you. You know, so that can always look a little bit differently too.
Yeah, like to your point, just kind of like asking, like if it's even something simple, if like your mom's hosting Thanksgiving, be like, hey mom, can you get some lean meat on the side when you go and get that butterball turkey, you know, like, or can you like help me out, like I'm trying to focus on dialing in the macros or something, like can you bring some like low calorie sides, like something like along those lines, and you can kind of spitball it, and she'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I'm more than happy to help, because she's your mom or your parent or whoever and wants to make you feel comfortable. And if they're not cool with that, then all right, I'm gonna go stop at the store and grab my own.
Yeah. Or ask if it would be okay to like bring your own food. And, you know, because sometimes it's really not about the food. I think that's a big thing too, is we let food get so much control over us, when if you realize you're, you know, maybe everyone's family's different or whatever, but I think it should really be more about the people that you're spending time with and actually spending time with them and connecting with them and whatever. And it's not so much about what is on each of our individual plates. And so kind of having, you know, taking the power back from the food, like it's just food, you know, you can have green beans and whatever on your plate. I actually hate green beans, so I'm not going to have those. I'm going to maybe have some sweet potatoes instead, but like we're still here connecting as a group. And that's what I think is the most important thing.
Yeah. It's just kind of like that old monkey brain tribalism stuff of like, hey, you're not doing what we're doing. Like, you're not part of us, you know, like that kind of whole ordeal. And it's like, I think to Miranda's point, it's very triggering for some people. And so just reminding them maybe in that time, be like, hey, I'm here to spend time with you guys. Like, doesn't matter what I have right here. Like, yeah, this is cool. This is food. But like, I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to talk to you. And like have genuine conversations. So like, can we not care about the food?
Yeah.
Or even make it like a family thing. I know a lot of people in general struggle with like having to make multiple meals for like kids or whatever. Maybe using it, if your family's open to it, as a learning opportunity of like, hey, let's make these dishes together. Here's some tips I have for like how we can make it a little bit healthier, you know, like using applesauce instead, or like whatever, honey instead of whatever.
Yogurt instead of sour cream.
Yogurt instead of, yeah, that is kind of a random
Joel.
one. But yeah, I mean, using it as a teaching opportunity, because some people just kind of like don't really know.
Sure.
And in that same breath, I think with the holidays in general too, if food is an important part to you and you're like, I'm looking forward to having grandma's homemade pie, cool, then have a slice of grandma's homemade pie, because you get it once a year on that day. You know, don't spend your calories, if we're looking at calories as a budget or whatever, which we like to reference a lot. But if you're looking at it that way, cool, yeah, spend it on those things that you only get this one time a year, versus like if there's Oreos sitting out on the table, maybe skip on those because you can get those any other day, whereas you can't get like this nice homemade meal that grandma made.
You never skip on Oreos.
Just saying.
But no, to Miranda's point, like have that one thing that you want and then focus on like the big ticket items like the protein, the fiber, that kind of stuff. But enjoy what you want to enjoy as well as spending time with others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. And I think also you kind of mentioned teaching others or explaining the why behind why you're doing things. And I think that can be important for people who are interested in making a change but might not know where to start. Have you had personal experiences of, family members, close friends of seeing you doing your thing and then been like, well, hey, wait a second, how can I join?
Definitely. I think people too, like at least my family has always had it in their head that like eating healthy has to be miserable basically. And so anytime we've kind of traveled and gone to see them during the holidays and we've had like our meals, they've made comments of like, oh, that looks really good. Or like now I have my mom on Applegate turkey bacon, which she used to hate any sort of turkey bacon. And I'm like, try this one. Shout out to Applegate, not sponsored by them yet, but just saying.
If we say it enough times.
Yes.
Applegate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they'll kind of like try something quote unquote healthy that we're eating and they're like, oh, this actually tastes good. And we're like, yeah, you don't have to be miserable. I love all the meals I eat every day. So that has definitely come from it too.
Yeah, a big skill that you can like help share with others is learning how to season things and just in general how to cook. How to cook is a great skill. You don't need the lards and the oils and all that other stuff. Like a big tip for a lot of people, just quick one, is getting rid of vegetable oils that you use and swapping it out with like a 0-cal olive oil spray or something. Like that alone will save you hundreds and hundreds of calories on something, to where like you swap that out in your day-to-day meals. If you use that 3 times a day, that's probably 600 to 1,000 calories right there, depending on how much like butter you use or oils you use to cook. And like that can literally drop 10 pounds off of you in a week. Wow. Well, not a week, but you know what I mean.
There you go.
You get
Certified.
10 pounds, guaranteed.
If it doesn't work for you, come see me.
Come see me. Get your money back.
Last question I have for you guys, and this is just more because I'm curious, because thinking of my own mother, she would not drink water. And even like some of Christina's family members, water's not on the beverage list, right? And she was telling me a story of like her grandfather would only drink coffee and like Pepsis, and that's what he was drinking. But man, he's still kicking. So
He's doing something right. Doing
yeah.
something right.
Yeah. And so in trying to get him to be like, hey, maybe sodas every single day as your source of hydration might not be the best choice. Might. What ways can you recommend people to give them that slight push into, hey, for hundreds of thousands of years, or I don't know how long humans have been here, put it in the comments.
A while.
Yeah, for a while, humans only had water as an option for hydration, right? So why don't you like the taste of water?
Yeah, I mean, Miranda likes to do this, and I know a couple other people do this. They use like Crystal Light packets to make water taste better. I like doing Soda Stream, or I'll drink Zevia. It's just carbonated water, because I used to be a big soda kid. Like my mom just always had soda laying around, or Gatorade. I would just pound sugar daily. Yeah. We were actually just talking about this the other day, but there's ways to get around that and like save those calories if you want to budget. I'd rather eat like a 4 to 6 ounce piece of beef than drink a 200 calorie soda.
True
like
that.
I would 100% rather do that. Yeah. Or I'd rather eat it than drink it for the most part, which I think a lot of people would probably agree. You're probably more full from eating something versus drinking a soda. Yeah. So I mean, just swapping out some of those things for like Zevia, Crystal Light packets, or like 5 calories a piece. Mio water is really good to kind of get you drinking water. Like if you don't genuinely like the taste of water, a little flavor enhancement never go wrong.
Yeah. And in that same breath, again, as we were kind of talking about earlier, just to kind of wrap a bow on this conversation, is like, unfortunately, you really can't like have your cake and eat it too. And so making like mindful decisions that if you are going to kind of overindulge in the holidays, okay, can we get some movement in? Right? And making sure that it's not, okay, we're going to have alcohol and the big meal and the dessert, and we're not going to move, and we're just going to kind of like let it roll into the whole weekend. Like, okay, if that's your choice, cool, accept your consequence. and don't yell at your coach for not making progress. But if you can, just be a little bit more mindful of those decisions and pick and choose, maybe select the things that you only can have that day or that moment or whatever, and take back the power and realize it doesn't necessarily have to be just about what you're putting in your mouth. It can also be a little bit more about who you're surrounding yourself with and the experience you're having together.
Yeah, no, all makes a ton of sense. So thank both of you guys for coming down and sitting. People at home listening, let us know what you think about the new setup, how it sounds, how it looks, all that good stuff, and we'll keep it going like this for the most part. But yeah, I think we learned some good things, so hope to talk to you guys again at some point.
For sure. Thanks for
Happy
having us.
holidays.
Woo!